because when there's so many things going through my head, how can I focus? How can I make the best choice?
We're talking a lot about, spinning different plates, and, the overall thing is, how do I keep growing my business when I'm wearing so many hats? And you're thinking about HR, you're thinking about employees, you're thinking about flexible overhead, the right vendors, what to delegate, and a lot of times, and I think a very antiquated mentality is to work long and hard. And I don't think that's the most efficient thing anymore, because that just leads to real quick burnout with no more fresh ideas.
And you're right, as much as possible, it's about doing things that are productive, not just being on the hamster wheel, right? Hamster wheels, plate spinning, juggling. This is what we're talking about. We're doing all these things, but being efficient. And there's a book, The 4-Hour Workweek, right? I'm not saying you can do it all in 4 hours, but there is that thought about the 4-hour week. That 4-hour work week is about being more efficient, right? And working smarter, and not just, putting all my energy. As long as I keep putting energy, as long as I keep working hard. And, another thought that came to mind is, especially when you're smaller, especially when, you need to get more profits in, especially when margins are running thin and opportunity is not as great, you're thinking, I just got to keep selling. I just got to keep selling. Every minute of every day, I got to get more work, and I got to keep closing, and I got to get a contract. That's, for me, doesn't help you grow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the mantras at my office for our business relative to what we do is, keep bidding, keep bidding. So we put enough time into bidding, and we know, like a baseball player, if you're at training camp and you're practicing your swing and you're getting up to the plate and you're doing your swings, every time it's your turn, sooner or later you're going to get a hit. So you follow through with that for your business. I know if I'm following through with my plan in marketing and outreach and whatever it takes to get your business, that you'll get work. Don't take away from the other time associated with growing and scaling.
Well, and a lot of that is being proactive too, right? Like you said, like your mantra in your office is keep bidding, keep bidding, keep bidding. And that's because over time, you've built the infrastructure to be able to sustain X amount of work at the lower spectrum, and then a large volume of work, through careful planning, efficient processes, and treating every job, large and small the same. And I think that is where a lot of people, I've seen in my own personal experience working for larger companies who weren't large when I started, and kind of grew almost overnight over the course of a couple of years, but they didn't have the infrastructure, the processes, and the procedure to support that type of massive growth, because everyone was just spinning their wheels all the time, just trying to keep up and trying to address whoever was yelling the loudest. And everybody worked 12 hours a day. And, there was an eye roll, whoever left the earliest or had to take a vacation. And it just, sometimes there's a time when there's a big push for that environment. But if you're working smart and you're being proactive and you're planning for the future, it can only lead to not just the company's success, but your team's success, more monetary prosperity, better emotional well-being and rapport. And I've seen that as a theme, and it's evolved over the last 20 years for sure. And I think it's more part of the culture than ever before, because people have seen that it is effective to be proactive and, to step outside the day to day and make sure that what you're doing has value and what your team's doing has value, and that you're not just doing things to do things.
Right. You know, how many times I'll do a to-do list and I'll write something that I've already done and cross it off, so I feel accomplished, right? So you're right. You gotta, and the only way to do that is to stop and try it. Listen,
Mm-hmm.
anyone who's watching right now, this is part of it. I mean, if you're stopping and watching, you're taking time, not doing sales, going to work on your business and thinking about, let me hear some different ideas. You know, you said be proactive. I gotta tell you, I used to think, oh, somebody's up there telling me, you know, talking and telling me to be proactive and bring value. And I didn't get my MBA. Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. But really simply is, don't be reactive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we tend to do that. I mean, in everything we do, let's say if we get upset about something, we're being reactive, and that's not good, right? Just to be reactive. It's like, how do you not be reactive? I tell my kids now, which I'm telling myself at the same time, before you react, just stop and think. And as you were saying it, it's like, is what I'm doing right now part of my plan? Is this the right thing I should be doing? You know what, if I'm stuck, let me just stop and think of a skill I can learn. I'll share one skill I learned is, and I think they call it the Pomodoro technique. And it says, just get a little timer and set that timer to 50 minutes. And guess what? Don't look at your phone. Don't look at your email. For me, and I think for many people, that's tough. That's
It
tough.
is.
What if someone's emailing me? What if someone's calling me? Well, if it's an emergency, the truth is they'll call back,
Mm-hmm.
right? If it's critical, it'll come to you. But 50 minutes focused on doing something, 50 minutes to think about how to grow your business, 50 minutes to think strategically about how you can help scale your business. That's something different. So it's really like, get off that hamster wheel, get off that just working, and think about, you know, yeah, working a little bit smarter and sharpening the saw and what else you can do.
Well, you made a really good point about reactivity also, you know, and it's pretty rare that you react, you know, especially like when it's, you know, so like if the project's at risk or safety is at risk or something is at risk and something's not the norm that you didn't plan for or weren't proactive about, that there is an emotion tied into that, which is you're not making good decisions when you're making, you know, emotional decisions out of fear or lack of preparedness, or if things weren't, you know, thought through. So if you're not setting aside to make time to be strategic and proactive and really think about, you know, what are the short-term objectives and what are the long-term goals, and am I making all the right decisions to get there, you're just going to be finding yourself working 12 hours a day, making bad decisions. And it, you know, like, I don't know how many times on a Friday afternoon where just something was just not coming together for me, no matter how, and I was like, I'm not clocking out till this is done. I'm going to get this done. And then, you know, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to wait till tomorrow, or I'm going to wait till Monday morning. And the answers are obvious after I've rested. I put it out of my mind for a minute. And, you know, that's just kind of an analogy for the whole, you know, your whole situation, the whole situation as a business owner and an entrepreneur, and how you can take that time to rest and make sure that you're thinking clearly and not emotionally, and doing your best to be proactive and thoughtful.
Well, that's another reminder. And we know this. We know that in relationships, just in general, is if you're upset, I probably shouldn't say something I shouldn't say, right? Well, you probably shouldn't do something you shouldn't do either. So
Right.
it applies to business and life. It's like making choices under duress or emotion. And that could be, you know what? I need to hit a big job. I need a big contract. I haven't been getting enough revenues in. So what do? You go swing for the fence, and I'm going to try and get a big project. And you put all your energy towards that. And what I learned is, for me at least, be careful. If I put all my eggs in that big home run, it doesn't hit, and I keep trying to push for a home run, it doesn't hit, I'll find myself with not enough revenues. Now, for what I think about is, hey, I'm looking for my core business, but I also want to get some low-hanging fruit. Maybe it's not the best work, maybe it's not my favorite work, but it's revenues and it helps pay the
Mm-hmm.
bill. This is low-hanging fruit. It's ripe. I can get some, and it's going to help me with my business. And then I just go for second base. I just want to get some work. This is what we do. We do it good, and I'm going to get my share of the work. But then I put a little bit of my time, right? Divide my time up where I'm swinging for the fence. Boy, if I hit this one, I might have to hire another person, but it's going to be great. I'm planning for it, stretching out your energy towards looking at different size projects that fills the funnel with the work and the revenues that you need.
But so that when you are swinging for the fences, though, you're not doing it out of desperation, and you're not putting yourself in a position where you're basically set up to fail because you were too low to begin with, but you just wanted the work so desperately and so badly. And I think everyone's been there, and it's not a good position to put your business in, and it's not a good position to put yourself in. And I know that's really easy to say, and it's not always easy to keep in perspective, when you're in that situation. But the more decisions you make like that to go after work when you're feeling emotional, depleted, a little desperate, it's probably not a setup for. It's not always the best gamble.
Yeah, as I've grown the business and looked at how do I do it better, right? These are some very kind of basic things and reminders that we're talking about. But I've always kind of said, well, what's the secret? What's the success? And so these things we're talking about, I think they're so important. And I think we know them, but we have to schedule time to stop and to think about it and to actually make that effort to say, okay, I'm gonna schedule this time just to think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because we're so, one of the things that I do for myself is try to be, this whole practice of mindfulness, right? This practice of being calm, because when there's so many things going through my head, how can I focus? How can I make the best choice? So I think that what I did is I would look to others, and success, as we talked about earlier, I think is personal, right? It's what it means to you. But I would always search and say, hey, listen, what can I learn from more successful firms? So some of the mentors I would ask, I would say, hey, what do you recommend, or what's your thoughts? And by the way, this is something everybody should do, whether it's a mentor or another business or just anybody that you respect their opinion. It's okay to get all these different opinions and then make your choices with what you want to go with. So I asked a mentor and I said, hey, what would you recommend as I'm on my journey here through your experience? They have a very successful business, have been doing it for many years. And I really thought there was going to be some secret loophole or, invitation to a secret society or some special algorithm. Here's the algorithm, use it, and it's going to go great. But I'll share with you what that mentor said to me. It was very simple, and it relates to what we're talking about. Is he said, on Sunday, I know you're not supposed to work on Sundays, but on Sunday, just stop for a moment and think to yourself and reflect on the past week, and say to yourself, based on my plan, based where I'm going, and based what my targets are, am I on track for hitting my goals, right? Do I need to make any changes to what I'm doing? Do I need to adjust my sales and maybe work in a different way? But am I proud of that week, right? So it's real simple. It was just like stop and look back and think about what you did, and how often do we not do that, right?